What's up and welcome back to the Chris Gates Fitness Podcast. Thank you as always for being here. Today, we've got a great episode and a great topic to dive into. The topic today is, what is the most effective diet for weight loss? We're going to just break down everything that matters, everything else that doesn't, and get you on the right path here. If losing weight is a goal of yours, you're going to know by the end of this episode exactly what to do, exactly what matters, and like I mentioned, exactly also what doesn't matter at the same time. So I hope you find this episode helpful. And as always, if this is your first episode, make sure you subscribe. The podcast is available anywhere you listen. Just search for the Chris Gates Fitness Podcast, hit subscribe, hit follow. And if you enjoy what you hear on this episode and you want to leave a 5-star rating and review on whatever platform you're listening, I would greatly appreciate that. That helps the podcast get in front of more people. Video episodes of the podcast are also available on YouTube, so make sure you head over there, watch the episode, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Chris Gates Fitness is where you can find me on YouTube as well. So we're everywhere and anywhere. There's also a full article on this topic on my website, chrisgatesfitness.com. So lately I've been trying to put together content in multiple forms on the same topic to basically deliver it to you in whatever way you enjoy the most. So hopefully you enjoy this. And as always, I'm a coach too. So if you're interested in pursuing your health and fitness goals and you want some personalized, guided support and coaching along the way, that's what I do. I work with people all over the world to build muscle, burn fat, and chase their health and fitness goals. If you want to learn more, chrisgatesfitness.com/coaching is where you can learn more. But with all that said, let's just get right into the topic of the day, right? Which is, what is the most effective diet for weight loss? And, when it comes to losing weight, there's no shortage of diets or claims of things that are going to get you the best or most optimal results. From everything from keto to intermittent fasting and a million options in between. The options are endless. But the funny thing is that the most effective diet for weight loss actually isn't about the name of your diet. It's not about strict rules or specific processes and procedures that you have to go through. It's really about flexibility and balance, and that's what we're going to talk about in today's episode. So a flexible approach, just to kind of give you a general vibe for what the vibe here is going to be. A flexible approach when it comes to weight loss, one that allows for some enjoyment and sustainability along the way, while, of course, putting in some core principles that we're going to talk about here. That is the best way to achieve long-term success with weight loss, and I should make that clear up front. We are going to talk about long-term weight loss here, about maintaining the progress that you make. I'm not somebody who really believes in or promotes or coaches rapid fat loss that you cannot maintain, right? I think the best way to approach this stuff is to do it the right way, the sustainable way, so that you only have to do this once, so that you don't have to keep coming back to try and find the best diet plan and what's going to work best for you now, as opposed to what worked best for you before. If you're continually coming back to try and find different ways to lose weight, that means that you've not done it the right way at all every single time. Yes, you may have made progress, but if you ended up back where you started or gained more weight beyond that, you've been taking the wrong approach. And in today's episode, I'm going to teach you the right approach. So along the way, we'll talk about the things that matter, the things that are going to get you results. We'll also dispel some myths about dieting, which is always helpful because there's the right information and then there's a whole sea of terrible information out there on the internet. And we need to wade our way through that while also talking about what is going to work for you. So if you want to know what is the most effective diet for weight loss, now's the time. Let's get into it. And we can't talk about weight loss without first talking about a calorie deficit. You're probably familiar with that if you have listened to the podcast before. If you have not listened to the podcast before, let me break down a calorie deficit for you so that you understand what we're talking about here. At the core of any weight loss journey, this is the one thing that has to be present. It doesn't matter what diet you do. It doesn't matter what foods you eat. It doesn't matter what protocol you're on. your diet is going to work if you're in a calorie deficit. And if you're not in a calorie deficit, your diet is not going to work and you're not going to lose weight. A calorie deficit occurs when you are consuming fewer calories from food than your body burns each day. Because a calorie is a unit of energy. So the calories you eat are energy coming into your body, and the calories you burn are utilizing energy that's stored within your body, okay? The balance of those two things is what determines whether you lose weight, gain weight, or maintain your weight. So when you eat more calories than your body needs to get through the day, and when I say that, when I say like what your body needs, there's a certain amount of calories that you're going to burn every day. And it's hard to pinpoint exactly what that number is for you listening or anybody in general. I do have a calorie calculator, which you can download for free on my website. If you haven't done that, would highly recommend that you do so, because that'll give you pretty accurate estimates on, what to eat to maintain your weight or to lose weight or to gain weight. But your body's going to burn a certain amount of calories every day, which means to maintain your body weight, you should eat the same amount of calories that your body burns on that given day. Now, what that number is not important for the purposes of this discussion right now. But the concept here is you have that amount of calories that you burn during the day. That's the energy that your body used. That's the energy that you burned. That's the energy that you needed to have. When you eat more calories than that, that means you have more energy coming in than you burn off. And that means those excess calories get stored as body fat. When you eat at a maintenance level, that means that you're eating the same amount of calories that your body burns, and that means you maintain your body weight. And if you're in a calorie deficit, that means you're eating fewer calories than your body burns. So fat loss occurs, because when you're eating fewer calories than your body burns, you need to find energy somehow to get through the day and do all the things that you have to do. And that could be the workouts that you do, but also just the regular daily tasks that you have going on every day, doing the dishes, brushing your teeth, taking a shower, walking to work, walking back home from work, getting in the car, driving to the grocery store, walking through the grocery store and picking out groceries. Also, the basic functions of your body, like digesting food, breathing, your heart beating, fidgeting, whatever happens throughout the day, your body needs energy to be able to do it. Your brain even needs energy to process things and help you get through the day. So we have to provide an energy source to allow your body to do that. The energy source is calories, but when you're not eating as many calories as your body needs, it has to search from within to find the energy to get through the day. So what often happens is fat, stored body fat on your body, becomes the most readily available source of energy that your body can use. So your body does something called oxidizing fat tissue, and we won't get into the super sciencey stuff, but your body oxidizes fat tissue, essentially converts it into energy, and then you use that fat tissue as energy to get through the day. So when that happens for one day, you probably don't notice the effects of it. When you do that for 2 days or 3 days or 4 days, you probably don't notice the effect of it all that much. But when you get into being in a calorie deficit for a week or 2 weeks or a month or 2 months consistently, then you really start to see dramatic changes with your body composition where you drop a ton of body fat. Okay. And again, if you want to figure out what your calorie deficit is, you can get that calorie calculator. It'll be linked in the description of this episode. That'll help you understand probably how many calories to eat to get into a calorie deficit and lose body fat. But no matter what diet that you follow, if you lose body fat, if that diet worked, quote, worked, it's because that diet got you in a calorie deficit. Because a calorie deficit is required to lose body fat. It is the only way to lose body fat, okay? And so the cool thing is, that means there's no one-size-fits-all approach to losing weight and losing body fat. You can do it really any way that you want as long as you are in a calorie deficit. And so what we're going to talk about in this episode is the flexible way to do it, where you're not picking a diet that has a name. You're not fitting yourself into a protocol that somebody else said is optimal. You can create a diet and a lifestyle and a routine and nutritional habits that help you lose body weight just because you are focused on the one core concept that matters, which is being in a calorie deficit. Every diet can work when a calorie deficit exists. When a calorie deficit exists, you will lose body fat and lose weight. So by nature of that, knowing that you just need to be in a calorie deficit to lose body fat, we can then pretty confidently understand that there actually are no, quote, bad or unhealthy foods, because every food can fit in your diet as long as you're in a calorie deficit. So you probably would think that like cookies and cake and pizza and ice cream are foods that are, quote, unhealthy or things that you should not eat if you want to lose weight. You probably have to cut those foods out if you want to see progress with weight loss, right? Well, in fact, that's wrong. That's not necessarily true. The truth is none of those foods are going to make or break your diet. If you're able to eat those and still be in a calorie deficit, control your calories consistently for an extended period of time, you can eat any of the foods that you want, which should be a liberating feeling to know that you don't have to cut out all carbs. You don't have to limit your feeding window to 4 hours a day. You don't have to do something terribly unsustainable and unenjoyable to lose weight. You just don't have to do it. You can include those types of foods in your diet and make all kinds of progress. Now, obviously, cookies, cake, pizza, ice cream, that shouldn't be the majority of the food that you eat. Not only because you want to lose weight, but just because in general, those aren't the most nutritious foods out there. Your diet, regardless of the goal that you have, should be comprised of mostly whole nutritious foods. You want to be eating lots of protein and fiber and have fruits and vegetables. And we're going to talk about specific types of foods that you should eat a bit later on in this episode. That's going to make your diet more effective from a number of perspectives. But like I said, regardless of your goal, those foods should be present in your diet. So you do want to kind of take that cue and have a mostly whole nutritious approach to your diet. But that doesn't mean you can only eat clean or you have to only eat clean and eliminate all your favorite foods. Having extremely restrictive approaches to dieting, to weight loss, to fat loss, it often has a negative trickle-down effect with people where, you end up developing these feelings of guilt when you do have an indulgence. You can develop a negative relationship with food. That type of stuff is really counterproductive in the long run, and I don't want you to develop any of that. I think everybody should be able to eat all foods and do so without guilt or negative feelings, but just have the knowledge and understanding of how those foods fit into your diet so that you can pick and choose them at the right times and still be able to manage your diet effectively so that you don't let, body fat levels spin wildly out of control, gain a ton of weight, and just get really out of shape. Nobody wants to do that. So I'm a huge advocate for a flexible approach because the flexible approach is going to allow you to eat all of those foods that you want, including the ones that people are probably going to tell you are unhealthy, as long as they are consumed in moderation and, like I said, fitting within your calorie needs and fitting within a diet that still is comprised of mostly whole nutritious foods. So that's really important to understand, is that there are no bad or unhealthy foods. You can include all foods. There is a balance. There is a ratio that's probably best. I like that 80-20 rule, to be honest with you, where you think about like 80% of your diet comes from mostly whole nutritious foods, and the other 20% can be kind of from whatever you want. If you add those together, 80 plus 20, 100% of your diet, if 100% of your diet is fitting within those calorie goals that you need to have to be in a calorie deficit, you will make massive amounts of progress. And in fact, indulging actually, I think, is a good part of a normal diet. And I don't mean, indulging shouldn't be heard as binging. Okay. I think sometimes people associate the two. One of the main reasons people struggle with their diet is that they're too restrictive. Well, I know tons of people who have made a ton of progress on keto or on the carnivore diet or on the Atkins diet or on the paleo diet or on the Mediterranean diet because they're easy to follow, because like the parameters are pretty straightforward, right? Don't eat carbs. Don't eat anything processed, or you're only allowed intermittent fasting. You're only allowed to eat for 4 or 5 hours a day. It's easy to understand. It's easy to put into action, but it's incredibly hard to maintain that long term. Just think about like the psychology of this. When you're constantly told that you can't have something, whether it be with your diet or anything else, it becomes increasingly more and more tempting to have that thing. As a father to 3 young kids, I experience this every day and I try to get better at it where, if you mention to your kid, hey, don't do that, or you can't have that, or that's not what you're supposed to do, it just makes them want to do it more. Adults are no different. Adults are no different. We're no more mature in that respect than children. And especially with food, when you're told like you can't have the pizza, you can't have the pizza, you can't have the pizza, eventually you're going to buy and eat an entire pizza by yourself. And then you're going to feel those feelings of guilt and all that type of stuff. I don't think that that's a good approach. I don't think being super restrictive is a great approach because it's going to lead to cravings, overeating, potentially binge eating, and we don't want to create any of those as a regular habit. So allowing yourself to indulge in your favorite foods occasionally while keeping the indulgences, again, within your calorie needs, staying in a calorie deficit, eating mostly whole nutritious foods at the same time, you're going to reduce the risk of that feeling of being deprived, and you're going to be more likely to stick to your diet long term. So moderation is obviously going to be key, but instead of completely cutting out all of your favorite foods, I want you to learn to enjoy them, maybe in smaller portions, but have them consistently so that you aren't having those feelings of being deprived or restricted. And so a lot of the qualities I mentioned of some other diets are about some of these diet trends that I want to just talk through briefly. Because over the years, various diet trends have emerged and then disappeared. They've promised quick and easy weight loss results. And some people have seen those quick and easy results, but then found out that it's not so easy in the long run. And why these diet trends often offer short-term results and fail in the long run is because they're restrictive and they're unsustainable. And that's something that people really struggle to learn from for some reason. It's like you keep doing the keto diet and then you get off it and you gain the weight back and you go back to keto because it worked. Well, it didn't really work because you gained all the weight back. You didn't do that diet in a way that actually helped you learn about your relationship with food and your health. And, putting in a bit more effort and taking the longer approach is going to help you more long-term. But let's talk about some of those diet trends, right? So keto, that's a diet that emphasizes high fat, moderate protein, very, very low to no carbs, which can be really effective in the short term, right? You get rid of all your carbs, you're going to lose a ton of weight up front because carbs retain water. Carbohydrate actually has the word hydrate in it. So carbohydrates hold on to water weight in your body. So when you get rid of all your carbs, you're going to lose a ton of weight, but it's not going to be body fat. It's going to be water weight. But then, after that big loss of water weight, you can continue to actually lose weight from body fat because it's just like if you eliminate all carbs, you're eliminating, there's only 3 macronutrients you can eat: protein, carbs, and fat. So if you reduce one of them, and say you're not allowed to eat that, it just really makes it easy to get into a calorie deficit because you took a third of the food options away. Like that, it just makes it easy to get into a calorie deficit, and that's why keto works. But it's incredibly restrictive, so people have trouble sticking to it. Or people transition out of keto and then don't know how to manage it. Intermittent fasting, mentioned that one a few times. That involves cycling between periods of eating and not eating. Oftentimes what it looks like is like people will do 8 hours where you're allowed to eat and 16 hours where you're not throughout the course of a 24-hour day. It can vary though. Sometimes it could be 18 hours of fasting and 6 hours of feeding, or 20 hours of fasting and 4 hours of feeding. And again, it makes it really easy to get into a calorie deficit because if you're only allowed to eat for 4 hours a day, there's only so much food you can comfortably eat in 4 hours. So it's probably going to reduce the amount of calories that you're taking in, which is going to get you in a calorie deficit and make it easier to lose body fat. So that's why it works. But again, do you want to only eat for 4 hours a day every day for the rest of your life? Probably not. So it's going to be unsustainable long-term, which is going to mean when you stop doing intermittent fasting, it's going to be hard to manage that relationship with food and your body composition. Paleo focuses on mainly whole foods while eliminating processed items, which is obviously healthy, but can be kind of like on the overly restrictive side. So I know that for some people has led to binging because you just abstain from those processed items, maybe those snack foods that you love for so long, and you can't take it anymore. And then you just have to have all of them, and then you binge on them, and then you gain a ton of weight back. The Atkins diet is a low-carb diet. It's not as much like no-carb like keto is, but low-carb can be very hard to maintain. Oftentimes, like the sweet treats that people love, those have carbohydrates in them. So the longer you go without those, the harder it is to go without those. And yeah, I mean, it's just not a diet that most people, in terms of, we're talking like a traditional diet, it's not, the low carb approach is not something that most people enjoy long term. That's just normally the case. And then carnivore is the last one, which has been prominent kind of over the last 2 or 3 years, where it eliminates all foods outside of really just like animal protein and some vegetables. And again, this is similar to, like keto, where I said if you eliminate an entire macronutrient. Well, in this one, you're saying like you're only going to be allowed to eat a handful of foods. So that's going to eliminate 99% of the foods out there in this world, which is just inherently going to make it easier to be in a calorie deficit because there's only so many calories you can actually pull from the foods you're allowed to eat. So all of those diets, as you can see, the reason that those diets work is because they get you in a calorie deficit in a number of different ways by manipulating different variables like time and the foods you can eat or the foods that you're only allowed to eat or the macronutrients that you're cutting out. And there are many more diets out there just like those. But the problem with them, and I kind of walk through this as I mentioned each one, is that they often require you to go through a significant lifestyle change that is not aligning with the lifestyle that you want to have for the rest of your life. And because of that, people often fall off the wagon, the weight comes back, and you start from ground zero, or maybe even beyond that because you gain the weight back and then more so, and you have to start all over and pick a different diet with a name. And in general, I'm not a big fan of any diets that have a name. I would like you to take your name and then build a diet for you and then call it that, right? My diet's name is Chris, and I've found it to be very sustainable. So I want you to build a diet with the following core principles in mind. Let's talk about a few things that you should be focusing on with your diet to create your most effective diet for weight loss. And then you can be off and running with a diet plan that's actually going to work. All right, so core principle number 1 is going to be to prioritize protein. Protein is the most filling macronutrient that there is, so the more of it that you eat, the fuller you are going to feel after each and every meal. It's also going to help you in terms of body composition. So, there's a lot of variables that play together here. But if as part of your weight loss program you are strength training, which I would obviously recommend that you do, and if that's of interest to you, that's exactly what I build for my clients is strength training programs that help you maximize the amount of fat that you lose while maximizing the amount of muscle that you hold on to or build. Build muscle, burn fat. That's kind of the magic combination. When you are prioritizing protein and eating an adequate amount of protein in your diet, while at the same time participating in a strength training program, you actually can maximize the amount of weight that you lose from body fat because protein is going to be introduced into your system. Your body's going to use it to build muscle, maintain muscle. Since you're lifting weight, your brain is going to signal to your body like, we got to hold on to this muscle mass because Chris or you listening is doing these challenging things in the gym. We have to have muscle to be able to do these things that Chris is doing in the gym. So where else can we go to find energy to get through the day? Remember that concept of a calorie deficit. Oh, well, we have body fat that we can utilize. Let's utilize that. And your body will actually prioritize weight lost from body fat. So would highly encourage you to eat a high amount of protein. Again, if you get the calorie calculator, it's not only going to tell you how many calories to eat, but also how much protein to eat. And then you can eat things like lean meats like chicken and turkey and fish and eggs and dairy to help get enough protein in on a daily basis to hit your protein goal. And if you hit those protein needs on a consistent daily basis, you're going to feel full and satisfied. It's going to help you change your body composition for the better and make it easier for you to be in a calorie deficit consistently. Now, beyond protein, the other item that I like to emphasize is fiber. And fiber is another nutrient that is incredibly filling. So fiber is found in most fruits and vegetables. Obviously, if you want to eat mostly whole nutritious foods, fruits and vegetables are going to be a big part of that conversation. And the more of those that you have in your diet, it's going to help you improve your digestion. It's going to help you feel more full. If you think about just any meal that you have, if you have a high protein meal, and then top it off with a fruit or vegetable, you're going to be so unbelievably full from that meal. You're not going to have to eat for a long time, okay? The combination of those two things in concert with one another is really, really powerful when it comes to losing weight. High fiber foods also tend to just be low in calories. Like most high volume foods, meaning foods that you can eat a large amount of for a very small amount of calories, high volume foods tend to be high in fiber, which means they, again, help you feel full on low calories. So some of my favorite options are like any berries, strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, blackberries. I love bell peppers, sweet potatoes, apples, pineapples. I think an easy approach to this one for fiber is find like 3 to 5 fruits and or vegetables that you enjoy eating consistently, and then just eat those every day. You don't have to like find certain fruits or vegetables that are magic because of nutrient composition or anything like that. You just need to have them in there consistently. So pick the ones that you like and just eat them. That's what I do, and it's great. So that's an easy way to structure things. And if you do that, you're going to have more fiber in your diet. And like I said before, that combined with the protein element is going to help you feel full, help you more easily stay in a calorie deficit, and help you change your body and lose body fat. And that's it, right? Those two things combined with the ultimate factor of being in a calorie deficit can help you see virtually all the progress you could ever see with changing your body composition and losing weight if you do it consistently. So give yourself time, be in that calorie deficit consistently, make sure you are in a calorie deficit, and that is the best, most effective diet for weight loss. It's the one you create for yourself with those core principles in mind that I just outlined. So I hope you found this episode helpful. I appreciate you being here for it. And again, like I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, this is what I do. I work with people all over the world to build muscle and burn fat and change their body composition and help people learn how to find the most effective diet for weight loss, right? So if that's of interest to you, I would love to talk to you more about your goals. You can learn more information on my website, chrisgatesfitness.com/coaching. But otherwise, thank you so much for being here. This was a blast to put together. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found value from it. If you did, and you can leave a rating and review, I will love you to the end of time for doing that, because that helps the podcast get in front of more people. But if not, that's cool too. I hope you will subscribe and join me again next week when I come at you with another episode. So I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a great week. We'll talk to you next time.